Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe and this is episode 30. Today we are talking about bottlenecks. Now, what on earth does that mean, I hear you ask? Actually, I don't know what I'm going to put in the title for this because nobody's going to listen to something that says bottlenecks. But whatever I decide to put in the title, bottlenecks is what it's about, and it's going to make sense as you listen. This will be a pretty short one, probably. I can't see it taking longer than 10 minutes, but to put you in the full picture, here's what I used to do for a job before I did this. So I worked for a company called Marshalls. Now, you may have heard of them. You may have their blocks on your driveway, monoblocks. You might have their slabs in your garden. You might have something else in your garden from them. So I worked in Falkirk at Marshalls in a concrete products manufacturing plant. And I sat and watched monoblock go past all day long. But before that was what I did towards the end of my 11 years there. Before that, I spent many years making slabs. Now, when I made those slabs, well, I didn't make them, a machine made them. And the machine made the slabs 3 at a time. Meaning, I'll explain that in a sec actually, and then a robot would lift them off the machine and place them on a pallet, and it was this conveyor belt that went round and round, and my job was to operate the plant, right, the machine, and keep it going. So I'm pretty good at problem solving, and I think it's one of the reasons that I got kept on through like 3 rounds of redundancy when I was in the door like 6 months and they were paying people off. That was like, remember the 2007 financial crash? I started at that job in the February, got my mortgage in the June, and everything went tits up by like, I don't know, was it like August or September? Anyway, I held on to my job. And it was probably down to my creative problem solving skills. So this machine, there was a big mixer up the top. I didn't deal with that, the guy up there did. It dropped concrete into this hopper, and then this big long metal screw thing pushed the concrete from the hopper into a bucket above the machine, and more spinny things put the concrete into a bucket that weighed the amount, okay? And it had to, I don't know, like however many kilos of concrete. Then the little door would open and it would drop it into a slab-shaped box, and that was number 1. Then that box would spin on the table to go under number 2, which was the big thing that came down and squished all the water out it to make it into a slab. And the third part was when it came round to the front and got lifted up as a slab, and the robot would come over and soak it up on a vac pad and put it on a pallet. Now, that's the 3 different parts to that, but all 3 parts were going on at the same time because the table had 3 boxes. So there was a slab always getting pressed, there was one always getting lifted off, and there was a box always getting filled up. Now, the bottleneck on that machine was the speed of the table, okay? You could speed everything else up as fast as you could, and once you got to the point where the only thing slowing the process down was the table, there was nothing I could do about it. That was up to the engineers to go away and think about how can we make this table faster. So if at any point the table was going faster than the rest of the process, that's when the problem solving skills kicked in. And I had to look at it and say, right, what is the problem here? Where is the bottleneck? What is the thing slowing this process down? And then I would have to look at the various bits of the machine. Maybe that's not spinning quick enough. Maybe the mix in the hopper is getting dry and too thick and it's struggling to push it through. Maybe it's this, maybe it's that. And that was my job. Every day I watched this machine, I maintained it, I looked for the bottlenecks, I kept it going as fast as it could to pay my wages, basically. Little did I know that would be a transferable skill when it comes to working with weight loss clients, because we all have bottlenecks. And I just had a conversation with someone in the group actually on their check-in, and I spoke about this very thing, the bottlenecks, because I've actually scheduled it as a daily post inside the group. So you may have a bottleneck, okay? think about it this way, right? What is the goal that you want to achieve? And you just use basic problem solving to puzzle through it. And I'll go through what I did with this person. So she was unhappy with her progress. She was feeling a bit stuck, feeling like things weren't moving, and she was absolutely right because things weren't moving. So that's when the problem solving kicks in, and I go and take a look and say, right, let's have a look and see what your bottleneck is. So I took a look at her check-in and very quickly realised that the reason her weight isn't doing what she wants it to do is because she's not doing the things to make her weight do it. So inside Clan Monroe, we use MyFitnessPal or NutriCheck, and they use that to keep a food diary, basically, to track their calories. She's not been doing that. So she's been doing it for 4 days out of 7 every week. And she's created this expectation that that should be enough. I should get 100% results from 55% efforts, and that's obviously not how it works. So very quickly, I've pointed it out and said, look, this is where it's going wrong. You're not progressing the way you want to or expect to because you're not doing all of the things required to achieve progress. And sometimes it just takes someone else to point that out. And that's all it takes sometimes. Like, she might be completely oblivious to the fact, she might feel like she's putting in a lot of work and a lot of effort, and she is, but she's either not putting in enough to get the results she wants, or she's putting too much effort into places that don't matter. And that's a lot of what my job is at times, just helping people have these realizations and just show, because if that was someone left to their own devices, they might not notice that. They might start dropping calories, they might start doing more exercise, they might start doing silly things to try and make the scales move, when the reality is it was just one simple thing that they needed to look at. Anyway, so like I said to her, this is your bottleneck at the moment. So for the next 2 weeks, let's get you back to tracking daily. And if after that 2 weeks the scales aren't doing what you're doing, then we go to the next thing. What's the next bottleneck? What's the next thing we need to do? What's the next thing we need to adjust? So you can apply this to anything, like any area, anything that you're struggling with, anything that's not going as you want it to, anything that's not progressing as you hoped it would. What is the thing slowing it down? So I started talking about it there, but the post that I'm sharing, I'm actually sharing it on social media tomorrow. So if tomorrow being I can't see that without my glasses on. Tomorrow being the 29th of April, it's actually my Saturday post. And if you're listening to this in the future, you don't have to go all the way back to try and find it. So it's basically a picture of a bottle, an empty bottle, with an arrow pointing at the fatter part of the bottle that says everything you're capable of being, and inside it's got fit, healthy, positive, strong, rested, energized, confident, content, happy. And then in the neck of the bottle, it's got all the things stopping you from being who you're supposed to be. Alcohol, poor sleep, TV, social media. That's all I could fit in because the neck's very small, but you get the idea, right? So here's the things you want to achieve. Here are the things slowing you down. It's slightly different from the problem solving perspective, but it's the same kind of message. So within all of us, we have the ability to be anything we want to be, but we all have things that are slowing us down and stopping us from reaching our full potential. Like that's one of the reasons I gave up alcohol. Like, I want my business to grow exponentially. I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be able to take my kids on amazing experiences. I want to be able to turn this home into a beautiful home and do my garden and all those things. And one of the reasons I removed alcohol was I realised how much time it was, how much wasted time it was. Like, what could I be doing on a Saturday afternoon and Sunday, all day on a Sunday, instead of having a drink and being hungover? Like I've said before, it wasn't like constant every weekend, but I've reached this place now where it's like, if something is a waste of time, I want to remove it because there's much better things I could be getting on with. So alcohol was one of my bottlenecks. What would another one of my bottlenecks be? I don't know. Working from home, maybe? Not having an office out in the garden. That's another one of my things. I don't like having an office in the house. It can be a bit of a pain in the arse. What else? When I lived in the old house, I got a cleaner for a while because that was doing my boxing. Jacob used to be in nursery because it was just Jacob at the time, and he was there from like morning till 5 p.m-ish, and then it's very different at school. Maybe an after school club would be another bottleneck because that would free up more time. I don't know. I don't have many other bottlenecks at the moment. Nothing negative anyway. My sleep's fine. I don't watch much TV. Spend too much time on social media, but I kind of... It kind of goes with the territory of being someone that, I don't know, lives on Instagram and interacts with people, and that's who goes on to become clients and stuff. So anyway, a nice, short, punchy, sharp one today. I did think it was going to be about 10 minutes. We're at 11. So yeah, take a look at the things you are trying to achieve, the things you want to be, and then ask yourself, what is slowing me down here? Like another one of my bottlenecks, this is a good one actually. So I've recently just started working with a business coach, someone I've followed on Instagram for a long time. I've implemented some of his content, some of his stuff on my own, and I've realised that alongside giving up alcohol and, you know, building a better business is that he's much better at business stuff than I am. So what is one of my bottlenecks? A lack of knowledge, a lack of ability, a lack of skill in this particular area, like building a business and marketing. Like, I have a business, that does not make me a businessman. You have a car, that does not make you a mechanic. Like my dad's a taxi driver, but it doesn't mean that he can, you know, strip an engine. So just because I have a business does not mean that I have a clue about running one. I'm good at what I do, and that's fine, but all the other shit, I wish someone else would come in and do it. So that's why I've got his help. That's one of my bottlenecks to getting to where I want to be with everything. Because as much as I love everything that I do, and I love working with all the people I work with, there are other things within what I do that I want to branch out into. I want to create a course. I want to run quarterly intensive fat loss programs. I want to do some public speaking. I really want to get into my son's school and sort the nutrition talks out in there. So these are all things I want to do, but I need to handle everything else first to the point where I can get more freedom to do that. Do you see what I mean? So what's the bottleneck to me being able to achieve that? Creating a more efficient business, spending less time creating content, spending less time on marketing, spending less trial and error wasted time on marketing would be more specific, and that's where paying someone a lot of money to help me with that comes in, because it's a lot of money, but it's not an expense, it's an investment, because it's going to pay itself back in the future. So, what's your bottleneck? What are you trying to achieve? What is holding you back? Be brutally honest. Disgustingly, brutally honest. You are going to come up with answers that you don't want to be the answers, that you will not want them to be the answers. You will not want someone to tell you, well, if you didn't drink 3 nights a week, you would probably be able to do this. If you didn't spend 4 hours a day on your phone, you would probably be able to achieve this. If you didn't binge watch Netflix past midnight every night, you would probably be less tired and able to do that exercise that you're not doing. So it's not going to be pleasant. You probably won't like many of the answers, but be honest, get the answers, and then ask yourself, am I willing to change these things? Do my goals mean that much to me that I am willing to change these things? I mean, it took me nearly 5 years of business to decide that I didn't want to drink anymore. I dabbled in with the idea over the time, and then just something clicked towards the end of last year where I was like, yep, this is the time to do this. And it's been ridiculously beneficial to the point where I wish I'd done it 5 years ago, but never mind. So, what's your bottleneck? Do you know what to do? I know I say this all the time, but to the few of you that listen to these, screenshot this episode, put it on your Instagram stories, tell me what your bottleneck is. I would love to see it. Or send me a DM about it. I would love to know. And maybe I can even help. But anyway, that was it for me today. See you next time.